Nebraska has one of their biggest games of the year this Saturday. The undefeated Rutgers Scarlet Knights come to town to take on the Huskers at Memorial Stadium. So in today's video, I'm going to give you a complete preview of that ball game. What does Rutgers bring to the table? How does Nebraska get this win? And so much more. So really quick, we have a lot to discuss in today's video. If you're excited about Saturday's matchup, I know I am, hit that like button. And hey, if you're new to the channel or still a returning viewer, make sure to subscribe. I post daily Nebraska football content, and I am not slowing down anytime soon. So if you're a diehard fan, make sure to subscribe. You will not regret it. But without further ado, let's get into this matchup. The 4-1 Nebraska Cornhuskers taking on the 4-0 undefeated Rutgers Scarlet Knights on Saturday, 3 o'clock. A big-time game that will likely define both of these teams' seasons. So let's start it off with Rutgers. Their head coach is Greg Schiano, his 5th year with the program in his second stint. And in his second stint, he is 0-2 against Nebraska. The Cornhuskers defeated him in 2020 and in 2022, both times on the road. This time, they come to Memorial Stadium. Overall, versus Nebraska, Rutgers has actually never beat the Cornhuskers. They're 0-6 over their entire history. But as of right now, Rutgers is 4-0 on the season. I think they feel pretty confident going into this matchup. Let's start it off with Rutgers offense because this is actually a pretty good unit for them. Starting off with their quarterback, a familiar face for most Husker fans, Ethan Kaliakmanis is their head man previously with the Minnesota Golden Gophers. And when he was there, 2-0 against Nebraska, both in 2022 and last year in 2023. Now in 4 games with Rutgers, a little bit under 800 passing yards, throwing for 61% from the field, 7 touchdowns and only 1 interception. So pretty decent stat line there. Nothing that's going to blow you away. And that's really his game. I mean, Kaliakmanis, we've played against him twice. He's not really a world beater. He can get outside the pocket if needed, but he doesn't have a super strong arm. He's not super accurate. He's just a good game manager quarterback who kind of does all the right things. Now, if Nebraska wants to really get in his head, you got to get some pass rush on him, force him to throw a couple bad balls, and hope that compounds over the course of the afternoon. But Ethan Kaliakmanis, he's confident against Nebraska. He's beat us before. And I'll tell you this, he's better than Hudson Card, the quarterback we played last week. That is for sure. So that's their quarterback. We've seen him before. Let's get to their running back room because they have one of the best players in the country, period, in Kyle Monagai. I told you guys in the offseason, this is somebody you're going to want to pencil down and remember because when he comes to Lincoln, he's going to be a menace. And he's been off to a crazy start to begin this season. In only 4 games, he has about 600 rushing yards, averaging 6 yards per carry and 6 touchdowns. And when you watch him on film, he is a bowling ball. I remember watching a play last week when they took on Washington. He broke about 5 or 6 tackles to get a gain of about 40. This guy will not go down. He's just a hard-nosed running back, has a nose for the end zone. Just a complete stud. I'd say he's a top 10 running back in all of college football. And it's not just him. They have a bunch of other guys in this running back room Nebraska should be concerned about. Samuel Brown, Antoine Raymond, both guys who have some speed. So Nebraska really needs to shut down their rushing attack. Rutgers averages over 200 rushing yards per game. That is their bread and butter. We've seen that from teams in the past. That was Illinois' bread and butter. That was Purdue's bread and butter. You got to stop this for Rutgers. But let's going back to their pass attack because they're not one-dimensional. Okay, Illinois, you could argue, is one-dimensional. You could argue Purdue is one-dimensional. Rutgers is not one-dimensional. They could throw the football. So their receiver room is led by Daimir Miller, transfer coming in from the FCS ranks from Monmouth. He's only 5'11", but so far this year has 227 yards, 1 touchdown. And you watch him on film. Really, really speedy guy. I mean, he can get behind a defense. They also have Ian Strong in that room, who's 6'3", kind of the X's, or he's kind of the yin to Daimir Miller's yang. Ian Strong's more of that big time, go up and get it type of wide receiver. He has 200 yards this year and 1 touchdown. And I remember watching film of that 1 touchdown, and he literally went up and got it on a jump ball. And they also have a really good tight end who leads the team receptions in Kenny Fletcher. So honestly, good receiver core, a little bit worse than Illinois'. Illinois' was really good, but Rutgers still has a lot of options there, and they are deep. Talking about their offensive line really quick, They have one of the best offensive lines in terms of the running game in the country, period. I'd say it's top 10. Very, very good. It's graded out well according to Pro Football Focus. Again, that's a concern for Nebraska. In the pass pro, they're a little bit worse, but they've only given up 4 sacks this year. So in general, this is a good offensive line. Probably the best Nebraska's played so far, period. I'd say it's even better than Illinois'. We should be concerned about this offense because it's good. We got to give it its respect. Let's get to their defense. So Rutgers starting off with their defensive line, it's not that good. Not that good. You'd expect a Greg Schiano coach team to have a pretty stout defensive line. I don't think Rutgers' defensive line is that good. They only have 1 sack per game. They're led by guys like Keontae Hamilton and Malcolm Ray. But again, in the pass rush, not awesome. I think Nebraska will do a good job containing that. And also, they're not very good in the run game as well. They give up around 200 rushing yards a game. So Nebraska's offensive line, I expect them to have a good day against this Rutgers D-line. Talking about the linebacker core for the Scarlet Knights, they're led by one man and one man alone, Daryl Jimboni, or I probably butchered that last name, Daryl Jabome. Again, that's a guy you're going to want to remember. Just an athletic freak, has 33 tackles in 4 games. He's 6th in the Big Ten in that stat. Just, again, a guy who's going to have NFL aspirations, so Nebraska needs to be worried about him. But other than that, not a great linebacker core either. And then talking about their secondary, I think it's a very decent unit. A little bit worse than what we've seen in the past with Colorado and Illinois, but they're led by Robert Longerbeam and Shaquille Loyal. They're senior led, but they still give up around only 200 passing yards per game. So I'd say that the defensive backs are probably the strong point on this team for the Rutgers on defense, but their D-line, not that good. Linebacker core only led by one guy. This is probably the worst defense in the Big Ten that we've played so far. I mean, maybe Purdue. I'd say Purdue and Rutgers are pretty similar, but Illinois' defense definitely better than Rutgers, to put it lightly. So, interesting defense for the Scarlet Knights. I want to talk about their special teams. You don't usually cover special teams in these preview videos, but Rutgers, we need to talk about it. They have a kicking problem. Their kicker is only 2 for 4 this year, and a lot of times Greg Schiano has Whitford on 4th down. So we should note that and remember that. But besides that negative, they have a lot of positives on special teams. I'm going to throw out a stat at you. Over Greg Schiano's time at Rutgers in both of his 2 stints, he has blocked 71 kicks. You heard me correctly. Over his 2 stints at Rutgers, 71 kicks have been blocked. Now, 41 of those have been punts, 17 of those have been field goals, and 13 of those have been extra points. They're usually very polished on special teams, specifically at getting to those kicks. In Nebraska's, they had 2 blocked kicks, or 2 kicks that were blocked against Purdue. So this is something that we're going to have to be concerned about against Rutgers. Again, just a very hard-nosed Big Ten team that's going to try to beat you in that aspect. So overall, Rutgers, very, very good team in my opinion, just as good as Illinois in a lot of ways. A little bit worse on defense, but still a very, very good squad. A game that we should be a little bit concerned about. We were concerned about Illinois. We should be concerned about Rutgers. And I will say this. They've been in a lot of close games so far this year. They were in a close game versus Virginia Tech. They were in a close game versus Washington. And they won both of them. They win close games. Nebraska does not. Something I want you to remember. So let's get to my keys for the game. As always, I'm going to save my predictions until Friday. But I'm going to give you my keys for Nebraska to win. How do the Cornhuskers get it done? Number 1, this is simple. Shut down the rushing attack, or at least slow it down, right? Force them to throw the football a little bit because, again, if you can get Kyle Monaghan going, if you're a Rutgers fan, it might be over for Nebraska, and this defensive line has to step up. So number 1, shut down the rushing attack. Number 2, feed your playmakers on offense. Okay, I don't believe this is a great Rutgers defense. It's not bad by any means, but it's not great. Get Emmett Johnson the football. Give Ja'Cory Barney the football. Carter Nelson the football. These athletic freaks. Get them involved. Get your playmakers involved early. Number 3, very simple. Make your kicks. Okay, it's likely that Tristan Ovano won't be ready to go this week. If John Hull's out there, you got to go out there and make him. And he's 1 for 5 so far this year. That's all. He's averaged at 20%. You got to go out there and make your kicks. And you also have to have a good snap, a good hold. Number 4, play clean football. Got to win the turnover battle. No pre-snap penalties, none of these holdings. Play clean football, because when you play a team like Rutgers, they'll try to exploit you in that aspect. Number 5, do not have a close game going into the 4th quarter. Like I just said, Rutgers wins close games. We have not won a single close game in Matt Rhule's tenure so far. We just haven't. Okay, so Rutgers wins close games. We find ways to lose close games. How do we avoid that? Well, just don't have a close game going to the fourth quarter. I want this game to be over or at least up by 2 or 3 touchdowns going into that final quarter. We can really put them away. So, all right, guys, those are my keys to the game versus Rutgers. Interesting matchup. They're a good team. I'm concerned, but I also respect them and I trust my boys. I trust Nebraska, and I'll let you guys know my predictions on Friday. All right, guys, let me know down below. What are your predictions for this ball game? Let me know in the comment section. Hey, if you made this far in the video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And as always, folks, go Big Red, go Matt Rhule, and see you in the next one.